So for a long while in my life, I used to eat carbs pretty heavily. I remember for a while, I really enjoyed sugary treats like ice cream and pasta and cereal. I was a big cereal fiend back in the day. I remember I would have my mom would buy these, I mean, like Lucky Charms, the freaking like red 40 dyed marshmallows and shit, bro. That's the crap that I was eating back in the day. Cinnamon toast crunch. I remember Christmas was and the holidays were always big carb times. You got potatoes. Mom would make cookies and those sort of things, like sugar cookies, and I'd eat like five of them a day. And then cinnamon rolls, I probably have like three of those because they're just so good. I was a big carb guy, to say the least, for a while. A while. Even like even a year ago, I was still smashing like a ton of fruit. I was still eating, like peanut butter jelly sandwiches with, I guess it was like whole grain bread. So I mean, like over time, it's progressed and it got a little bit better to where I wasn't eating like sweets all the time. I was eating like healthy carbs, I guess, like potatoes and rice and whatnot. So it eventually got to a point where I was eating like not ultra processed food, and that's pretty good, right? I think for most people, if they just get away from eating ultra processed foods like I did, you can probably live a relatively healthy life. But I struggle personally with eating a lot of food, and so for the past 7 to 8 months, I've just like completely cut out carbohydrates, and it's really made my life a lot better. So now I'm on a ketogenic carnivore diet. I don't even eat plants anymore just because I don't really think they're necessary. And so I don't eat carbs anymore basically. And if I do eat any sort of like carbohydrate, like the maximum amount of carbohydrate that I eat is maybe like 5 grams a day, maybe. And that's coming from like if I eat a ton of like sausage or something, or like bacon, some like cured meat that has been like cured with sugar or something like that. But it's such a minute amount that I basically don't have any carbohydrates whatsoever. So yeah, I don't eat carbs anymore, to say the least. And it has really helped my life out a lot. And so that's why I'm making this video, is just because it's helped me a lot, and I want to share that information with people. And if maybe it'll encourage you to cut out carbohydrates from your own life, even though there's a lot of narrative out there saying that you need carbohydrates as an athlete. I'm an athlete and I haven't been eating carbs, and I actually PR'd last week, so I think you don't really need it that much. I don't think you need it as much as people say you do. And so that's why I'm making this video, just because I want to encourage people to at least try it out. Try zero carb out and see how you feel, or try low carb out, right? Just to see how you feel, because it has really revolutionized my life. And I believe that if more people got on this, life would be better. Like your life experience, your felt experience would just be better in general. And so that's what I want to share with you today. So if you find value in this video as to why I quit carbs, then I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. That's the best way you can support me in this channel. And yeah, so do that, share with your friends and family and whatnot, and we can get into it. So the first reason why I quit carbohydrates is simply just because I was curious about it. I wanted to try it out, and I experimented with it, and I felt pretty good. So for the first 2 weeks, it was weird. The energy was kind of a little bit wacky. I think they call it the keto flu, and I definitely went through that sort of phase, like the first 2 weeks that I tried it out. I was really unsure going into it, but I had done low carb days before, and so I was like, okay, this can't be that bad, right? And so I tried it out, and I definitely experienced like a keto flu, but it really didn't affect me that much. I didn't really get like hit super hard by it. I did have like a dip in energy, and it felt kind of weird, but I got used to it eventually, and I was like, okay, good to go. And so as time went on, I actually started feeling a lot better and better and better. Like week 3, I started feeling like pretty freaking good. Week 4 was even better. Week 5, week 6, and as we go on and on and on, I just feel like better and better. It's kind of leveled out now to where I feel basically the same every single day. So maybe I'm taking it for granted. But yeah, it's about the same now that I'm 7-ish, 8 months in. But I remember that those first like few months is just like an exponential increase. And so now it's probably more like a minor increase or even just like a straight flat line. But along with the kind of quality of my experience, is just my energy levels are just so rock solid all of the time. Like it's very hard for me to be tired unless I've done like a lot throughout the day. Maybe I've had a really tough weightlifting session along with a tough track workout. Like yesterday, I did that. I had a relatively brutal weightlifting session. It wasn't the hardest I could have gone, but I definitely like pushed it. And then my track training session, bro, we did 400 repeats, which if you don't know, 400 meters is one lap around like a high school track. And I think I did 4 of those with a ton of like sprint warm-ups and whatnot. And so I was pretty cooked after that because it's like a dead sprint. Like you're trying to sprint the whole thing. So I kind of got like I was cooked. My abs were like cramping up because I didn't hydrate enough beforehand, dude. I was cooked. And I was just like, whew, tired. But I wasn't even that tired. Like I could probably work out again after that. It's just because I sat down and I ate some food and I was just like relaxing that my energy levels started to kind of go down. But my energy is like it's not like up and down like it used to be whenever I used to eat carbs a lot. Like I remember there'd be some mornings because I remember basically every single it was so inconsistent. It was really weird. There'd be some mornings where I would eat like this protein pancake stuff. And I get that's not like the healthiest carbs or whatever, but okay, whatever. It's still carbs are carbs, right? At the end of the day, whenever you digest carbohydrates, it's going to be sugar in your bloodstream, right? So most of the time, it's going to have the same sort of effect. So I would eat like these protein pancakes. I would throw in a ton of like chocolate chips in them, or maybe I would have like brown sugar. Like I would go ham, dude. It was nuts. And I would eat a ton of carbohydrates before going to school. And I remember I would always run a mile before school my sophomore year. And yes, I did get pretty good at running. I'll be honest, like I was pretty good at running. But those morning runs were either really good or just like meh, because it's just so inconsistent. Sometimes I'd feel like super high energy. I'm guessing that's whenever the carbs were like kicking in and I'd have like the perfect amount of energy to run that mile. Or I would experience that sugar crash or I just wouldn't be up to speed that day. And it's just like, ugh, like I'd be like slogging it that whole mile, dude. It's just like tough to run that. And so yeah, it's just so inconsistent all the time whenever I ate carbs. Even though like the protein pancakes and whatnot tasted so good, dude, it was just like so inconsistent energy, which sucks to be completely honest. But it's just a lot of stimulation, I guess. The next thing is I just don't overeat anymore. So a big problem that I had with carbs is I overate a lot. So those protein pancakes, unless they were in like those like contained, unless they're in like a specific mug, and I ate that and then just kind of left, and I made like a whole batch of like protein pancakes. It's game over, bro. I'm gonna eat a lot of those, right? And even though they were kind of filling because they do have some level of fiber in them, it was still like I ate more than I probably should have. And I felt kind of sick afterwards. Like sugar for some reason for me, whenever I eat way too much of it, it's just like I feel like sick and like gross. And like I feel like I can literally like feel myself getting fatter from it, dude. It's such a weird feeling. But I just feel like sickly whenever I eat too much sugar. And it's just like, ugh, ugh. And I would do that to myself a little bit too much. Unless I was like super strict on the tracking calories. And so I think there is some level that you can make it work if you're like locked in on tracking your calories. But I kind of eased off the gas on that sort of mindset of like rigorously tracking my calories. And so it got to a point to where it's like I'm just kind of eating intuitively. And that's where the problem really came in. It's just like intuitively, my body doesn't know when to stop. And so I just kept going. So, I mean, if you're being super rigorous about it, I still wouldn't really suggest it because you're probably not going to be satisfied. But if you're being super rigorous, you're probably better off with carbs than if you're trying to intuitively eat. At least that's the way I see it. And that's the way I would go about it if I were to go back to eating carbs, is I'd be really meticulous about it on how much that I eat. The next thing is just there's less fat storage, so I'm getting like leaner. It's just it's easier to get leaner. And that's because whenever you eat carbohydrates, your insulin goes up. Right? I've said this a lot of times, but whenever your insulin goes up, you store fat. Right? It's literally the thing it's mostly known for is fat storage. It does a crap ton of other things in your body, and you probably don't want those to be elevated all the time. But especially if you want to get lean, you probably don't want fat storage to be up all of the time. Like just think about that. If you're storing a ton of fat, then how are you going to burn fat? How are you going to get rid of it and get leaner? They're competing systems, right? So just like stop eating carbs. Boom. At least that's the way I see it. You can still lose fat if you're eating carbohydrates, but it just seems to make more sense to me that you lose fat faster if you weren't eating carbohydrates whatsoever. At least that's the way I see it. I kind of talked about this a little bit before whenever it comes to feeling better, but my brain is just so much sharper. I don't have brain fog anymore. My brain works, and I'm just elite. Like I'd like to say that I'm a relatively intelligent guy, and it's really annoying whenever my brain doesn't work. Whenever I can't articulate a point, whenever I can't think about something, it's just so annoying whenever my mind doesn't do what I want it to do, if that makes sense. Because I think I'm more of like a cerebral kind of guy, like a brain guy, I guess. I don't do feelings that much as much as I should, I guess. But I'm more of like a brain guy, right? I think about stuff a lot. Whenever my brain doesn't do the thinking thing, it's like, what is going on? Why is my brain not operating at the level that it should be? And I don't have that problem nearly as much anymore now that I'm on a ketogenic carnivore diet. No brain fog, right? I think clearly 95% of the time now instead of like 70. It's a lot better. And the times I do get brain fog is generally after I eat like a super big meal, or I'm tired, or I haven't slept well. Or I'm dehydrated. The other things that generally cause brain fog still happen to me, but I'm not it doesn't innately occur all of the time because I'm eating carbohydrates. And that's the thing that I experience all the time. Even though I wouldn't eat a big meal, or I was hydrated, or I was well rested, I'd still get brain fog because I was eating carbohydrates. And ever since I removed them, I haven't had that. So I'm going to make correlation isn't necessarily causation because I haven't done like a full, experiment on it by myself. But I'm going to the correlation is there, so you can make your own kind of assumptions with it. And the next thing is my athletic performance has stayed the same, if not gotten better. So last week I ran the 800-meter run, and that's kind of like my track event, the things that I want to really get better at. I'm not an elite athlete by any means yet, but I PR'd yesterday by a second. And just let me tell you, so the PR that I originally had was set my sophomore year of high school, so 2.5 years ago, right? 2023, right? Spring of 2023. I just PR'd now in December of 2024. right? In that period in between, I was still eating carbohydrates. It's just my training was worse. Okay. Now my training is better and I'm not eating any carbohydrates, right? So I don't really think your athletic performance really differs that much. I don't think the diet really helped me that much. I think it's my training that got me from point A to point B, but my diet helped facilitate that training to get to where I'm at, if that makes sense. Like I've only been training for the 800 intentionally for 6 weeks leading up to that meet, right? I've been running, I've been doing like sprints and whatnot. Before that, I was playing soccer and I was doing some stuff over the summer to get better, but I wasn't doing a ton. And then obviously before that was my junior season of track where I did not PR at all. I got slower that season. But yeah, I like my athletic performance has stayed the same, if not gotten better. And so I'm really of the belief that you don't need carbohydrates to perform as an athlete, at least in the case of me, because, you can say, oh, I'm not elite athlete or whatever. Okay, fine, right? I don't need to be an elite athlete. I don't need to be in the top 1%, the top 0.00001%. But if I'm in the top like 5% of people and I have all the other benefits of not eating carbohydrates, okay, I'll take it. That's fine, right? Like the reason, like, I'm not sure how to articulate this, but it's just like people who've been advised to eat those super high carbohydrate diets, like at the top of the game, they're advised to do that, right? They're advised to eat like 300, 400 grams of carbohydrates a day and then have like a ton on race day and whatnot. So really it's selecting for the people who can handle that sort of thing and then still make it. What if it was pushed the other way around, even if it didn't, like fuel performance the other way, right? You could say, oh, okay, well then the elite athletes are people who don't eat any carbs whatsoever, right? Because that's the thing that's pushed, right? So it's a little bit biased whenever you think, oh, but you need to be an elite, but you need to have a ton of carbohydrates for athletic performance. What if other people perform better without carbohydrates than with them? Just think about that, right? There's a potentiality for that, right? There should be, at least in my mind. And so it's kind of like self-selecting whenever you get to those top levels because it's so pushed in those levels of like, oh, you need to have carbs. You need to have carbs. But I'm really of the belief that it doesn't really matter what your diet is as long as it's not terrible and you can recover enough. I don't think your diet really matters. What really matters is the amount that you're training and honestly some genetics. Like I can't make my stride longer unless I grow taller, right? But as far as I'm aware, I'm kind of like as high as I'm gonna grow. I might get taller, who knows? But I can't really like force myself to get taller unless I do like that. What's the surgery where they like break your legs and they extend them, bro? I could do that, but you know what I mean. It's like your genetics do have some level of implication in your athletic performance, but in terms of improvement, I'm of the belief that it does not matter what your diet is. As long as you are training and recovering, that is all that matters, right? In terms of athletic performance and athletic improvement, that is what matters, right? And so that's why eating like a whole foods diet with more nutrition and whatnot is probably going to be better than eating like crappy, if it fits your macros for performance, right? Because you're getting all the micronutrients and whatnot. That's probably going to be better for you for performance, right? But in that, as long as you're getting enough and you're able to recover, I don't think it genuinely matters, right? If you like carbs, if you don't like carbs, whatever, as long as you're training as hard as you can and you are recovering from that training and you're able to improve, then I don't think the carbs really matter at any point whatsoever. Like they haven't for me. I've been 0 carb for 7 months and I've gotten faster, right? From 6 weeks of training, right? Like my last 800 meter, my junior year of high school was my best one was like a 2:22. My last open was like a 228, right? Real bad, right? Like mid for a mid distance runner, right? Mid, not that good. This year, right, 6 weeks in, my first track meet on an indoor track, 216, right? My first race in a long time. I've been training for 6 weeks intentionally, right? And honestly, like those first 4 weeks were kind of like meh anyways. I'm being completely honest. 216, okay? What matters is the training. It's not the diet, okay? Even though I've been on the diet for like 7 months. It doesn't matter. What matters is the freaking training, dude. And so, yeah, I don't know how long I can really beat this drum for, but I don't think you don't need to eat carbs to be an athlete. I genuinely don't believe that. I genuinely believe that what matters is the training and the hard work that you put in. And the funny thing is I actually think the carnivore diet specifically, or even like a zero carb diet, actually helps me recover better. You know, I've been kind of nursing an injury for the past few days now, but it hasn't been that bad. I've still been able to train on it. I've still been able to like work hard. I remember whenever injuries used to like decommission me, and I don't really get as injured anymore, right? Like I get injured for maybe like 3 or 4 days maybe, and obviously they're not like catastrophic. I don't have like Wolverine healing powers or anything like that, but I heal a lot faster from like minor injuries than I used to. And like even today, my Achilles is feeling a lot better, even though it's been injured for like the past, like honestly, it has been like the past like 2 weeks or so. But I've been continuously like re-aggravating it because I think I'm okay, and then I keep going super hard. But I can still train on it, and I'm not like destroying my Achilles while I'm doing it. It's just like that slight ache, you know. But I feel like I'm able to recover faster on this diet. I get better sleep. I'm able to kind of like rest more, if that makes sense. My sleep is just better. It's just a nicer feeling. I get more protein in on a carnivore diet because I'm not eating carbs. Most of my intake is protein and fat, and that's literally what you need to build your body. Like if you think about it, what's a cell made out of? It's made out of proteins and fats. Like where's the carbohydrate component, right? And I get that, like I think there's like glycoproteins or something like that, but that's such a minor piece of your body. Do you really think you need to eat that? You think you can't synthesize it yourself? Just think about that. But anyways, I get that I do sacrifice a little bit of experience with eating carbohydrates. I'm missing out on the taste of the sugar cookies. I'm missing out on the taste of the cinnamon rolls. I'm missing out on the taste of, what is it? My mom made this like chicken enchilada casserole thing. It's whenever I used to eat it, it tasted really, really good. It was like a good mix of like spice and chicken and cheese and corn tortilla and whatnot. I was like, that's tasty. I get I'm missing out on that, right? And by no means am I trashing like carbs taste, because they do taste good, right? I'll be completely honest, but I do think sugar is a drug. I think I view it as a drug because it lights up your dopamine centers. It's super addictive. You know, it's ultra tasty. You want to have more of it. I mean, just think about it. It's pretty much like a drug, like any other drug. It's just, it has like a slower burn of the negative side effects than something like cocaine or freaking like some whack drug like meth or something, right? Like you don't really have as big drawbacks from it immediately as you do the other sort of like hard drugs. It's more like a soft drug, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a lighter thing that kind of like seeps into your life and slowly destroys it from the inside than something that's kind of like burning you from the outside, if that makes sense. So that's another reason why is like I don't want to eat carbs that often anymore. It's just because I view them as sort of like a drug, and I think there is ways you can probably like enjoy them or whatever, but without the, you know, and just kind of accepting the negative drawbacks. But for now, as an athlete, I don't really want to deal with that. I want to live as healthy of a life as I can. I want to really lock in and not try and indulge in anything. And I get that's kind of boring, like, oh, you know, Keegan's, like eating a boring diet, whatever. Like, yeah, I'm doing that on purpose just to not stimulate myself and distract myself from freaking the goals that I have in my life. I think it's so sad whenever people, including myself, just kind of like get distracted from stuff that they genuinely want to pursue in life. It's because they're doing some weird BS that isn't, aligned to their goals. You think eating like sugary snacks and like pizza is going to be aligned to my goals? Like, my goal right now is just to become the best athlete that I can and to PR and maybe get to the state final for the 800. Right? I know it's kind of a long shot, but I genuinely believe I can if I'm locked in enough. Right? Do you think eating pizza and sugar and like all this weird stuff is going to be aligned to me? No, it's not. It's not. So I'm not going to do that. And that's another reason why I'm not going to eat carbs, is because I'm looking into the long term. I'm not trying to sacrifice my future for some short-term pleasure, for, like extra tastiness in my mouth, because I know what the negative side effects are, brain fog, low energy, even if it's just for a day. Like, I don't have that much time. I have maybe 5 months to achieve my goal, right? 5 months, not even, like 4 months to get to where I need to get to. I have 4 months. That's 16 weeks. I have 16 weeks left, dude, to achieve what I genuinely, like, I'm like almost dreaming about it at this point. I'm like daydreaming about it at this point. 16 weeks to make something happen, to prove to myself that I can make it happen. And so I'm not going to sacrifice that for some taste in my mouth, because I know what carbs do to my brain, what they do to my body. I'm not going to waste I'm trying not to waste any days. I'm trying to be present for all of it, just so I can be there. And carbs kind of take that away from me. They kind of, they make the experience of my life worse. And after it, admittedly, I probably will have some sort of like, probably not ice cream, probably like, I don't know, some like pizza or something, just cause, right? But that's afterwards. And that's going to be after a long, hard training session, right? If I'm not, like, if I don't think that I deserve it, I'm probably not going to have it either. Just because, like, okay, next objective. Let's actually achieve this. So, yeah, that's the way I think about it. Overall, with this video, I just wanted to explain to you why I don't eat carbs, okay? If you still want to eat them, that's perfectly fine. I just want to encourage you to try to reduce them from your life, at least a little bit. Try to get to like sub 100 grams per day. Even if that means you have to like download a tracker or whatever and kind of look at your food intake. Just lower the amount of carbs that you eat per day. Just try, if you can, do 0 carb, right? Just try that for like a day or maybe 2 weeks, or like just try it for like 30 days, right? I've said this in a couple of my recent videos, but World Carnivore Month is coming up in January. Try it then. Try carnivore, just straight up. Or maybe just start now, and if you don't like it, skip halfway through January. Like, the sooner you try it, the sooner you can, experiment with it and see how you feel. So don't wait. Like, if you're thinking about trying this out because of this video or some other videos that you've watched, don't wait to try it out. Try it today. Like, just start today. Right? And if you're a skeptic or whatever, I would still encourage you to try it out. Even if it's for like a week, just to see what the other side is talking about. Like, I think at some point in my life, I probably will try like a vegan diet for like a day or something, just to see what it's like, right? Just to see how I feel. Because I want to understand how the other person is feeling, thinking, how they eat, that sort of thing. Just to see, just to understand. Probably won't stick with it, because I know, like, I've done the research on it. It's not the greatest, but I'll try it out. I genuinely will, right? But obviously in the future. But that's the way I see it, is like experimentation in your own life is not only like the best way to see if it actually works, but it's also fun in a certain way. To be like, okay, I'm going to try and stick to this challenge. I'm going to try and do this thing. And if it feels good, then it's a win. And if it feels bad, it's like, okay, I know what to not do, right? And I get you should try and learn from other people's mistakes. You should try and learn from other people's stories. That's what I'm trying to share with this video. But what matters most in your own life is your own experience. It's not what some study says. It's not what some random guru says on the internet. It's what you experience in your own life. So just my suggestion would just to be try it. I can't speak. Would be to just try it. So just try it and see how it goes. So I hope this video explains my reasoning well and my thought process behind it and whatnot, and maybe it'll inspire you to at least reduce the amount of carbs or junk food that you eat in your day. You should honestly stop eating junk food, bro. If you're still eating junk food, I don't know what you're doing, man. Just remove all of that, and I can promise you your life, you will feel better if you remove junk food from your life. So yeah. That's all I got. So if you like what I'm saying, you should go subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Be better and have a W day.